Anaheim. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Does it feel good to be blue? I think I'm super energized after what we saw the American people delivered last week. I hope all of us are energized. It's building the momentum of things yet to come. So I am very proud to be here and spend some time with you this evening. As Vern said, I am LISA RAMIREZ. I've been an immigration attorney for 25 years. And I just want to make very clear that running for Congress was not part of my 2025 plans. Okay, this is not something, if you asked me in January if I planned to run for Congress, I would have said you were crazy. This is not a career move for me. But what I see happening in our community every day is a punch in the gut. And so it started with the unlawful apprehensions, right, of my clients, of our community. And then it evolved into the erosion of our constitutional right to due process and depriving our immigrant brothers and sisters to be able to access their courts, to be able to have their cases heard. Then they were taking away bond from individuals. They were subjecting to mandatory detention. Then we saw the horrific facilities getting constructed and built like Alligator Alcatraz. 90% of the ICE detention facilities have been privatized, which makes it very difficult to have any accountability, any oversight, to hold any elected official accountable for the conditions in these facilities. But that was, one thing, and watching the administration completely ignore court orders, it was just a constant. I was feeling more and more helpless. But the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when the National Guard rolled into the streets of Santa Ana. And I had staff attorneys in the USCIS building that morning conducting interviews for our clients. And I knew at that point, what we were seeing and what I was witnessing unfold in our eyes was something I never would have imagined in my wildest nightmare. And I knew that this is something that I have represented clients from many parts of the world, that they see these military regimes take over, that we were supposed to be the safe haven, the place that they could come for refuge or to seek asylum. And I never imagined that I would see our own military turned against our community. But my experience goes well beyond immigration, just to be very clear. I have been very involved in the district for 25 years. I've raised my kids in the district. I'm on the board of the Orange County Bar Association. I was a staff attorney at the Public Law Center and created their immigration program. I'm now proud to say I'm the first staff attorney to be a board member of the Public Law Center, which deals with a whole lot of issues, everything related from healthcare to housing to taxes. We represent the most vulnerable in our community. And that's really, if you look at my track record and what I've dedicated the last 25 years of my life professionally, but I would say my entire life has really been dedicated to stand up for the underdog, to stand up for those whose voices aren't heard, to be able to amplify the voices of my clients or my community until they're able to speak for themselves, which is exactly what I was able to do for Mr. Barranco Santibáñez. He was unlawfully apprehended by ICE. He has successfully raised 3 U.S. citizen Marine sons. And we saw, I think all of us have probably witnessed and seen that video over and over again, the payback of this country to that man who's had absolutely no criminal record. Now, Narciso is very much a poster child, probably, for what many of us know to be true about immigrants in our community. But I will say that he is one of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And we know that the immigration issue goes well beyond the need for reform. We see our small businesses are suffering. I'm a small business owner. Everything from, when I walk down on the streets, and I would say here, including in Anaheim, or you can go to downtown Santa Ana, it almost feels like COVID all over again. People are terrified. I have done more work in this city, working with Congressman Kerr. Between January and March, I did 57 Know Your Rights presentations. Absolutely free pro bono, because my commitment is to educate, equip, and empower our community. I reached about 5,000 people in those short months. After, we saw other nonprofits stepping up and, really taking the lead on those Know Your Rights, I knew the next thing was family preparedness. So I created the first family preparedness plan that's actually now getting published statewide, which includes a child care safety plan, a caregiver's authorization affidavit, creating the power of attorney for minors and for people's belongings. Because I got tired of people not being prepared. For not being prepared for their own children, having money in the bank, yet not being able to access it for legal representation or bond. And so I think it's really time, and what I think America has sent a message all across the country last week, is that we need leaders who are going to really stand up and step up to represent the interests of the average American, of the working class individuals in our community. And I think we are ready for change. I think people are eager to see that change, and I'm very eager to step up and deliver. And so for me, this is coming from a place of deep conviction and feeling very compelled to be able to step up. But this is not my campaign. This is really our campaign. It is going to take a country to flip the House. We only need 3 seats, and this is one of them. Now, I will say, because many people ask me this question, with this particular district, we took one for the team. And I knew we were going to take one for the team, and I'm proud to have taken one for the team, meaning that this district does become a little bit more Republican. But we've got Ken Calvert now fighting for the seat against Young Kim. LISA, there's rumors to be said that he may join in this race, which means as they're going to battle out for those GOP votes, it is an opportunity for us as Dems to really go in and sneak in and steal this seat for the American people. This is the last red seat in Orange County. It's really an opportunity for every American to be able to stand up and step up and contribute at this moment in time. It's going to require all hands on deck. I think for too long we have gotten very comfortable, and I would say perhaps almost asleep, thinking that government is going to solve our problems. I'm here to remind you, and I'm sure I'm probably preaching to the choir, is that we are the government. We are the people. It is our job to be engaged, to be contributing, to be participating in this process. I hear talk to people about, wanting to see, term limits put on Congress. And I said, we are the term limits, but we are not engaged. Our job is really to get people who are registered to vote to get out and show up like they did for Prop 50. And I'm hoping they're going to turn out and show up to a far greater extent. But that's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen automatically. Obviously, we have to wait for maybe people to feel like it hits home, right? Something that hits their pocketbook. I know the economy is the #1 issue right now in folks in this community, in our district, and across the country. Affordability, people not being able to make ends meet, being, struggling with 1, 2 jobs, and the impact that has on the family structure, right? Whether you're a single parent or a 2-income household, it is difficult to be able to make ends meet. The second most important issue, I would say, is healthcare and access to healthcare, right? We had, a horrible bill, I call it the big bad bill, that we all know was so devastating and detrimental to folks on Medicaid and SNAP. And we know that the healthcare premiums and what people are going to have to pay, we have world-renowned healthcare systems in this country, and they're completely inaccessible to people who need access to that healthcare. I have firsthand experience in my own family and what it costs to even get my son's broken fingers, fixed or looked at, and then the runaround that we got, and I'm insured. And as a small business owner, I was expecting the premiums to go up 5 to 6%. We're in the midst of our open enrollment. It was going up 18%. And as a business owner, I don't know if I'm going to have to increase my prices for our fees and services to be able to cover that cost, or am I going to have to, balance our budget on the back of my employees and have them actually cover more of their healthcare, premium costs? It's a lose-lose situation, but it's not because we lack resources. It's not because there isn't enough. It's because we lack the political will and we lack leaders in Congress that can prioritize, right, the taxpayers' money. It's our money that they're spending, that they're giving away to the billionaires in tax breaks, that they're spending on, bailing out foreign governments, that they're spending on, renovating or destroying, part of the White House to build $1 million ballrooms. And I'll get in conversations with people who said, well, that's private money. They're getting that from donors. I said, it is the priority of our government that it is more important to build a ballroom than to give bread to the American people. There is a big problem in our country when we have leaders in Congress, and I'm not just talking about the White House, but who are allowing this administration to completely erode our constitutional rights, erode our democracy, and think that the American people and the leaders that we have elected in Congress are not going to stand up and step up and prevent them from continuing to destroy this country. For me, our campaign goes beyond the 2026 elections. This is really about a movement where we can transform the conversations we're having around politics and the issues we care about, a movement where we can get people to re-engage, to step up, to contribute. I was listening to a story this morning, and some of you may or may not be familiar with it, but just amuse me for a moment, about the beginning of the Humane Society of Nantucket. The beginning of the Humane Society in Nantucket was a community-based service organization of completely 100% volunteers. That when there were big storms, they knew that there were shipwrecks, and when they could see a shipwreck, the bell on Nantucket would ring. And they had these like refuge houses or huts, I think is what they called them. And folks would row out into the ocean, into the stormy waters, to see who they could rescue. And they knew the value of a human life. And they risked their own lives in order to be able to rescue that life. The motto of the organization at the time was something like, you may not come back, but you must go out. And it was this sense of obligation to look out for neighbor, to look out for humanity, and people were willing to do that. The fascinating piece for me is it basically was part of the beginning of the U.S. Coast Guard that was government funding. And guess what happened to all of those, volunteers and those community members that were so engaged and committed to the rescuing of human lives that, from shipwrecks in the ocean? They basically let it happen because now there was a government entity that was going to do it for them. And they basically retreated and they weren't engaged in the same way. So for too long, I think we've been looking for government to solve our problems. And again, I say we are government. We are the ones that have the solutions. Each and every one of us has education, a perspective, skills. It doesn't matter what your contribution is, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in policy, whether it's in healthcare, whatever it is, we are going to need to solve the problems that we are facing as community together. And so for me, this is war. And this is my battle cry to each and every one of you to please join our movement, to join this effort. There are other candidates that are in the race. If there was a candidate that I could have gotten behind that I believe could unseat Young Kim, this is before Prop 50, I would have gotten behind that candidate. But I am certain with my expertise in federal law and policy, my experience as an immigration lawyer, being the only Latino in the race, being a fluent Spanish speaker, the way Latinos turned out for Prop 50 was very inspiring for me. Because Latinos are the absolute worst ethnic group when it comes to voter turnout. And I'm not saying that as a judgment. I'm speaking of statistics and just the pure numbers. And what I tell the party is, we can take nothing for granted. We can take no vote for granted. Because just because they're disgruntled and they're upset because those that voted for Trump does not mean they're going to vote Dem. They're going to stay home. So our job is to work as hard as we can to build the trust, to really get our name and our movement out there and give them someone they can get out and vote for and show up for. And I truly believe if we can do that, and it's not me, it's we, it's all of us, being able to contribute. And that means the canvassing, it means the phone calls, it means, social media, it's emailing, it's getting our community, our neighbors. And I understand that not everyone here is part of the district. And I tell people that's, great. You're probably, if you're in Orange County and you're not in the district, that means you probably have a pretty great representative that you can count on to represent your community because the rest of the districts are blue. So we need, though, folks from outside the district. I have people from all over the country that I have never met financially contributing to our campaign. And I am very humbled and I am most appreciative, I will tell you, of the hundreds and thousands of $5 contributions, of $10 contributions. And I imagine, I don't know, I just see the names and the amounts, that those people are giving sacrificially, right? These are people that probably don't have a lot to give. They're not the multimillionaires, the billionaires that can create their own PACs and contribute to get a candidate elected. For me, I am not accepting a single dime from any corporate PAC or special interests. That is very critical. But this campaign is going to be powered by people. It is going to be powered by people like you. And it's going to take a mass movement for us to be able to flip this seat and to send leaders to Congress that can really represent the interests of the average American and the American people. So if you are with me, I invite you to please join me. Visit our website. It's LISARAMIREZ.com. We have some materials that will be shared around. I have some business cards as well. please feel free, email me, call me, give me ideas. I am open and I am available. And if there's one thing I can promise you, when I'm elected to office, I will be accessible, because I really believe that is what representative government looks like. It means that you are doing town halls, that you are in the community, and I've already demonstrated that. I've done that. I've been doing forums this entire year and during the entire first Trump administration. And I will speak up and I will stand up and I will share my resources, my education, my knowledge, anything I have to offer with my community, because it's so critical that we are educating, equipping, and empowering our community be able to make decisions for the future of our country and for their own communities. So I want to say thank you for inviting me to speak here tonight. I'm happy to take any questions. I don't know how much time we have, but if there is time and time permits, I'm happy to take any questions from anybody about my campaign. Yes.
First of all, thank you for the work that you've been doing with immigration. I want to be honest, I was so disappointed when Democrats came in, right? And I'm one of the families who's this close to leaving the country for health reasons. My mother has Lewy bodies disease, and after the Medicaid cuts, I don't know if we are going to be able to stay. So my question is, are you going to be a Democrat that when they go low, we go high, or are you going to be punching? Because that's what we really need. And like you can see my little pantry here, the people are responding. When those cuts of SNAP went in, we said we're going to give a portion of our store, let's feed people. And everyone responded. Everybody has been bringing food, right? Because we were willing to stick it out as long as that meant that Democrats were going to fight for us. And when those 8 Democrats caved in, it broke our hearts. All that sacrifice, all those people suffering, it wasn't fair. So that's my question to you. Are you going to punch back? Because that's what we need right now.
When they go low, kick them. Eric Holder.
So first, I just want to say thank you and kudos to you, because this is exactly what we're talking about. Because the government is not making it easier, they are making it harder. And it's requiring us to open our homes for us to, get groceries for people who are too afraid to leave their house, for us to get diapers for people that need it. People are suffering right now. That is not, a secret. So thank you first and foremost for allowing folks to be able to drop off and pick up food and to feed and serve your community. So first that. Secondly, I will tell you, in full transparency, and I think you could probably look this information up, after the presidential, I have been a Democrat since I was 18 years old. I worked on Boxer and Feinstein's campaign before I was old enough to vote. I was part of the Democratic Club in the 52nd District, at least that's where it was, before I was old enough to vote, right? There was a teacher. It was an educator who taught me the value of civic participation, that my vote mattered, that my engagement mattered. And to this day, he had asked me for decades, because I was very involved in speech and debate, and he said, when are you going to run for office? When are you going to run for office? I said, Mr. Nuccio, listen, when I decide to run for office, you'll be the first to know. And I keep my promises. And I'm telling you, come July, when I officially made the decision to run for office, I had to Google him and look for where I knew he's like in his 80s. And I found him. It was his wife's number, but he called me back. And I just said, look, I want to, my first fundraiser, I had people from high school show up. I took pictures and I sent it to him. And I said, this is what you started. These are the seeds that you planted of people who are now stepping up because of a teacher and an educator. And I will say this, is that being a Democrat since I'm 18 years old and I'm in my 50s now, I had to make a very difficult decision. I was done with the party after the presidential elections. I think Democrats have really lost their way in many respects. I don't think they had their thumb on the pulse of really what mattered to the American people. I had issues with messaging, and I'll never forget the number of text messages and please give and please give, please give. It was after the presidential election, and I got this text message, which for me, again, was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, that said, what feedback, they wanted feedback, do you have about, the elections? I spent 45 minutes drafting very thorough feedback, and I hit submit, and I couldn't unless I gave a contribution. I tried to give a penny, and I couldn't give a penny. It wouldn't go.
On the head.
Yes.
I get about 20 surveys a day.
Yes.
I'm on everybody's list. And I know I can say, yeah. And will you support?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course I'll support it. But, oh no, I can't send this opinion in
Right.
that they're supposedly interested in hearing.
Right. So if I ever ask for your opinion, it will be free. Okay? I will say that. And so I had to give $1. That was the least amount of money that because I just wasted 45 minutes of my time and submitted my $1. But I actually unregistered Democrat for the first time and became NPP because I didn't feel that my party really represented our interests. And unfortunately, if I could have run as an independent, I would have. But you can't. And I'm proudly to come back to the party because this is the best party to run under if I only had the choice between two. Because I believe Democrats care, have compassion. I believe Democrats really want to see meaningful change. But for me, I am not going to fall. And I made this very clear to the party when I decided to run, that this really had to be my campaign. I know that there are challenges. I know there's caucuses. I know that there's alliances. I know that there's a lot of pressure. But you can ask my mother, God rest her soul, I have never been one to keep quiet and to go with the flow. So whatever, but I'm smart about it, and I'm strategic, and I'm intentional, right? So I'm not one to just, I don't spew, and I don't call people names. I always have to think, and I have, something a lot of people don't know about me, but I have a lot of training in theater. And I love it because it makes me very effective because I can speak to people's listening. And I know what their self-interest is because every human being acts on self-interest. So we've got to be smart. We have to work smarter, not harder. And I really don't feel that the party has leaned as heavily as it could with the wealth that we have here in this room, for example. Right? And so, yes, I can answer your question with a resounding yes. I will not hesitate. For me, and I want to make something else very clear, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Those 7 Dems, they, what's the word I'm looking for? They, not abandoned us. They betrayed us. They betrayed us. But that doesn't mean every Dem has betrayed us. And it doesn't mean every leader has betrayed us. We need to hold Dems or Republicans accountable. That is our job as voters. With whatever decisions and votes that they're taking, we'll get them out of office because that's what needs to happen. If they are not representing our interests, then that's the power that we have as the American people. And so for me, I hope, and my commitment, right, is to stand for what's right and not necessarily to go with the flow and do, whatever the party line is dictating. So,
Gracias.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's great that you came because, most of us live in Lou Correa's district. And
Congratulations.
he's got his good points and bad points. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't need any help. He's got that. We are the term limits. Supposedly, that's what she says.
Yeah, we are the term limits.
But yeah, really, it'd be a good use of our energy and resources to help someone like you. And
that's what I'm telling people. When I talk to people on the phone, like, well, I'm in Laguna Beach, and I'm here, and I'm there, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm in Levin's district, and I'm good. I'm in Dave Min's district, and it's like, wonderful. And they go, we're going to help with their campaign. I'm like, they're good.
Yeah.
Please.
Dave and Derek got a bigger Democratic advantage than they had before from Prop 50.
Yes, we've got Garcia coming in over Huntington Beach, which is, and I was like, lucky you.
He's the best.
Lucky you, right? But, not everyone is as lucky. But to me, this isn't even about the district. This is about the country. This is about flipping the House so we can actually stop this administration from continuing to destroy our democracy and our Constitution and all of the resources that we desperately need in place to serve the people. So I see one question.
How can I help you canvass?
Yes, please. You can help canvass. You can help call. So visit LisaRamirez.com. We've got materials. Matt, where do we have the materials? Can we get those passed out? Okay, yes. Let's get those passed out. Visit our website. Sign up for our newsletter. Everyone is welcome. So I don't discriminate. It's like I said, it's going to be hands-on, all hands on deck.
And how can I reach you?
So the website, LisaRamirez.com. We probably have some cards here as well. So Matt's my campaign manager, and I need the young people. And I'm really happy and proud to see some young faces in this room because you are masters of social media. You raise the next generation of civically engaged people, and so whatever I can do to support them and help them get the message out. The young people are the future. And I know the investment that my teachers made in me, and I feel like there's this gap in our education system, don't get me started, has really failed our young people. But it's really up to us as civic individuals to how should I say, inspire a new formation of civic engagement. And I believe they're ready. I believe they're hungry. They're eager to step up, and I think they're seeing, the things that they've unfolded. I know my own kids. My son's 20. My daughter's 18. They've never known a life without gun violence, and that breaks my heart. I was at an event not that long ago, and it was very noisy, and my daughter was trying to get a hold of me, and she was calling me, she was texting me, and it was noisy. I didn't hear my phone, and I finally called her, and she was so upset. She reprimanded me like a 16-year-old, and I said, Bella, what happened? What's wrong? Did you think I got in a car accident? She said, no, Mom, I thought you got shot. That never occurred to me, but that is their reality. And we need to leave this country and this planet in a better place than we found it. And so I'm committed to delivering that for the next generation, but I'm going to need the next generation to step up to create the future for the generations that follow. So thank you guys for showing up. You remind me of me back in the day, but you matter. You really do. And thank you for all that you do. And please show up, canvas. We need all hands and feet on deck. Bring your high school friends, college friends, cousins, whoever, neighbors. Everyone is welcome.
I'll canvas very hard for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right. Thank you very much for having
We'll
me.
be in touch.
I'm going to excuse myself. It's been a very long day, and I've got a very early morning tomorrow. But it was an absolute pleasure to be here and to meet with you. Please visit our website, and you can always reach out.
We'll ask you back after you win the primary in June, and then when you're a congressman.
Yes, I'd be happy to come back. Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much.